Well, thank you for coming back, Miss Veve, on my show.
Thanks for having me.
And of course, you're working on Because It's Sunny in LA. Can you tell everybody about that?
Oh, okay, yeah. I am. I'm working on that production here in Los Angeles at the Hudson Theater. A little bit about it. God, I love this show, which is why I do that. It's the best writing I've ever been a part of. No offense to all the other shows, but this is definitely groundbreaking. It definitely brings you in to the inside of what it is and what happens to make people become homeless. See, everybody has this far off sight of like, oh, homeless. It's they kind of deserve it, like druggies or whatever people think. Like but you've heard it. You've heard it from your parents or like other loved ones, and when you're walking down the street and don't look at them, and they always have these little comments about what got them there. That's not you. But in reality, when you watch this show, it gives you the perspective, I believe, of like there's like I think five or six of us, five different stories of how people got there and like what are the things that happen to them. And these things can happen to anybody and they're everyday things. And so it really does bring insight into okay, this could happen to anyone. This could be me. This could be a loved one. And but it also gives you kind of like a little bit of like, well, okay, how do they survive it? How do they get through it? And so there's a little bit of like the upside. Like it's not always going to be down. You know what I mean? And what's nice is the show. Well, I don't want to give away too much. I'll just say that much. It's a good show.
And then where can people go see it?
Yeah, so you can go catch it at the Hudson. It's playing all of June. I have a calendar here. All of June. We have the 9th, the 10th, then we have the 17th, the 18th, the 23rd, and the 24th is closing night, which is always my favorite night just because it's like that last bit of energy. So feel free to come and check it out. You can always go to because it's sunny in LA.com. I believe that's the website. Correct me if I'm wrong. I can also look it up right now.
I believe that is the website. I've checked it out. So, um, and if I'm wrong, forgive me too. But you,
Okay.
it's true because you're right. Because we don't know it's our loved ones who are in, you know, um, that could be our loved ones or friends or relatives being homeless. And also, it's a good story because it teaches everyone else what the issues are. It doesn't matter what state we're in, all the way from
Yeah.
just going to name some states, from Arizona to California, Oklahoma, Texas, New York, anywhere in any 50 states, including Hawaii. But we in Alaska, but it doesn't matter. There's homeless. Alaska. I can't figure about Alaska, but
You
you
can't
it's
worry for a moment.
right. But it's like the homeless. I'm pretty sure, almost every state you go to, it doesn't matter how big the population is, how small the population, every city that you go to has homeless problems.
Yeah.
And it's not it's like people would say, oh, it's because they want it to be that way. Yes, maybe so, maybe not. But again, there's an issue. And I think, I'm gonna say this, we're not talking about it enough in the society from generations and generation until now, until more. You have people who are raising their kids and their grandkids, from grandma and grandpa and their parents. I'm not a parent, but you have them teaching their kids about, oh, it's look at them, don't look at them. This is,
Yeah.
don't be like that. Right. And that's I understand, but you also kind of like, wait, why?
Yeah.
You acknowledge them, right? You never know. You could give them a cold water, and that means a lot. Just a water bottle, a cold water bottle means a lot. Or if you buy like two hamburgers from, I'm gonna say McDonald's or or Arby's or and you can't eat the second hamburger, by giving them a second hamburger that you couldn't eat means a lot for them. They're like, oh wow, you're giving me a food, right? So it's like
Yeah.
it means a lot for them, but also, also the show is talking about housing. We need housing in the United States. And a lot of that's an issue that we need to talk about. You
Yeah.
talk about, you know, from Texas, Dallas, from California, New York, in all states, it's that it seems like when we bring up housing, the society just kind of like, wait a minute, no, we don't want housing. And then that for me, it's kind of like, wait, why? There's a problem with that, right? It's just like it fixes the solution, with the homeless and all that stuff.
Totally. It's a supply and demand. If you don't have, I mean, simple economics, right? If you don't have enough supply, but you have an obtuse amount of demand, then it's going to
Hmm.
prices we have now. So people think, oh, it doesn't affect me. I have a home. Well, do you want to spend over half of your budget on your home? Which is what I've looked into this a lot, actually. Most Americans spend over 50% of their like home at home take pay on their rent, on their mortgage. And so do you really want to live that way? Yes, fine, you have a home, your needs are taken care of. But what if you didn't have to spend 50%? Because I guess there was some kind of like era in time, I think it was the 50s and the 60s, where 30% was the norm. That was pretty normal and it just jumped up to 50. Oh, when women got the right to, kind of a nerd when it comes to this stuff. I'm a history nerd. When women
Me
got the
too.
right,
It's okay.
so maybe you're familiar, when women got the right to also have like equal jobs, equal pay,
Right,
then
right.
the housing market was like, oh, we can charge, it's a double income home. And so then all of a sudden these prices became double income when reality, like, it wasn't quite equal pay. And the next thing you know, we're at where we're at now, where people are spending 50% or more because now there's a supply issue in houses. Now we just don't have enough and we're not building.
Hmm.
And so, but there's such a demand because people need somewhere to live. And thus we have kind of hard rents, kind of hard mortgages, and people becoming homeless. I mean, it's definitely a big part of it, I think, in my opinion.
No, and it's true. A lot of people, they're like, oh, for example, this is always, I always hear this, it's like, oh, I want to live in LA, but it's so expensive. And I always tell people this kind of funny part. I'm like, and it's the truth and kind of funny and kind of not. Be like, you're paying what you're seeing. They're like, oh, yeah, you're right. Mountain beaches and all this stuff. And I said, yes, that's the truth. But, in reality, I think what's also an issue, the problem is a lot of these companies, and it's not entertainment companies, but a lot of these businesses, um, you know, corporate businesses, and yes, seems like I am talking corporate business, and I am, but a lot of these businesses were not helping at all. It's like there's a problem when what's so scary is when you're laying off people, when you're telling them they're, it's et cetera. It's like you don't know what you're impacting their lives, right? And a lot of people in these streets could have worked in these corporate businesses, and
Yeah.
maybe they haven't. But I think what we can do as a society, and that's why I love the show that you guys are working on, is you're talking about the stories. Everybody in the show, including you, and and so on, is telling different versions of, and also what I like about it is different race on the show, right? And it's that's the thing. And you could have a Latino, a Mexican, etc. on the show, but it talks about it doesn't matter. We are all human being in this show. Well, not in the show, I mean, but yes, on the show, but also in in reality, and in the reality in the streets, because we're all human beings. It's like, but then, also when we're having housing, it's also helping them. But also when we put them in housing, it kind of gives them a little comfort, and then they also can get out of their housing and try to apply for jobs, right? But
Oh,
and that they can freshen up, shave, or, etc. And that's where they can start from. But I do agree, rent is so high now. Housing is getting so high, and I think that's a problem. We need to somehow, I wish we as a society in every state is like, why do we need to bring rent so high? Why do we need to bring housing so high? And then, you look at gas prices, and it's crazy, right? I never thought I'd spend so much gas, $4 to, um,
yeah.
I have a truck.
Oh,
So yes, I know it's kind of like when you fill it up, it's like, wait, you're looking at it and you're like, wow, I don't think I should.
just
Right. And it's like, but you have to. So it's kind of
yeah.
like, but I've talked to people who have small little bitty cars, and they're like, wow, it's still as much, and I mean, I understand. It's like, but that's why, like, even though, like when you look at New York and LA and all these places that have trains, that's great. But I think, in my opinion, I wish a lot of these states would have more public transportation to help the society, and also, my opinion. that will also reduce the homelessness, in my opinion, because people don't have to worry about
How am I going to get there?
right paying income. But also, have I noticed, that people who have public transportations, that it may actually kind of help the homelesses because if they have housings and they are in the housing, they can take that transportation and try to go to their job interview, not worrying about paying Uber or Lyft or taxi or trying to get their own car or walk 2 hours to get there when it really doesn't take 2 hours to get there, and that's what I'm noticing.
Yeah, the public transit issue. That's for sure a really hairy one. I don't know as much as about the public transit issue. I do know that there's a lot of, you have to, there's the land, right? You need the land to build this, like extend the train
Mhm.
to another. And so getting that land when we're already so kind of developed is hard. And then people want a certain amount paid out, and that amount can be obscene, right? So then they end up kind of giving up on the project to like, and then also there's special interest too. I mean, don't you think that oil and gas companies or even the car companies have an interest to keep us into being a car economy, like oil gas economy? And like people downplay that, but that's a really lucrative, wealthy industry, and they have a lot of money, manpower. And it's just interesting because I feel like even like with housing, I mean, haven't you kind of heard that there's this narrative of like, well, California is expensive, but you get what you pay for. I mean, you're paying for the mountains and to be in California. How did that narrative get to being that way? Why is it that having a life of luxury and ocean is something that you have to earn? I mean, I get it, you do. There has to be some kind of work, but why is it something you have to slave away, have double jobs, and really just okay? Well, now I get to enjoy the fruits of my labor. Why can't it have to be that way? You
That's
know?
true. I totally agree with you. You look at um recently, you look at San Francisco, which I love San Francisco as well. Not the
I
cold, I love it there, but it's a little chilly for me in the morning, but that's where I suffer. But you know, that makes a point, right? You talk about you makes a point, oh great to live there, it's expensive, but you notice that when people move to these big cities, they're like getting like 3 jobs. It's like they almost don't have a life, right? And that's just, in my opinion, it's like, wow, that is just sad, right?
yeah, and if I'm being honest, if I could touch briefly, that's something that's personally affected me. I used to actually before giving my life to the arts, and now I'm an actor. Um, I worked in law, and when I first moved here, I don't want to pick out companies, but I worked for a really well-known big company here. Like I'm talking one of the big five, right? The big industry. And it was funny because for some reason they got away with paying me less than minimum wage, but nobody said anything because I was lucky to work there. Oh, how lucky. It's very cool to stay when you go out. And I was, yeah, you could sleep in. Cool, come at 9, 10. There was like this unsaid norm of like, you don't have to come in at 8, maybe 9, maybe 10. You come in at 11, you look lazy. But it wasn't a rule. And then people just stayed till 9, 10, and that was their life. And then maybe there was an after event thing that if you don't go to, you're not really putting the effort in. So that became your life. And I have other interests, acting, developing my, music skills, and writing. I'm a person. I have multifaceted interests,
Hmm.
but not when I work for them. And so yes, I hadn't like enough money, even though they didn't pay enough to pay my rent and my bills and to live in that life. But I also didn't have a life. I was that company. And I think there's
Hmm.
really a problem, at least in my opinion, in America, where we associate our self-worth with our occupation. Even our healthcare is associated with our occupation. What are you outside of your job? And why
Right.
does my entire identity? You know what I mean?
Hmm. And that's 100% true. I totally understand. And that's like I just, to me, just I don't know, it blows my mind how some people get different pay, some people don't, and I don't, it's just, for me, it just blows my mind. And I just look at that and I'm like, it's speechless. But but back to this show that you're doing, I believe it's bringing up all that issue.
Yeah.
And you hear the story background because it's sunny in LA. You hear the stories why, but I target this title of this because people. People may look at it as like, oh, it's only talking about LA. It's like, no, it's talking about every city, right?
It's
Right. It's talking about every city. Every city has a problem.
yeah,
It doesn't matter. And that's why I love this show because it's talking about issues of what we're talking about. The income, the homelessness, and what's going on in our society. And it's very important to talk about because if we don't talk about it, then nothing happens, right? But we're telling stories. We're hoping something changes, and that's why like yourself and all the actors on the show, they're telling stories to change, hopefully to not force people to change their mind, but hopefully to understand what is going on. Because what you're saying in the very beginning is like some of these people may have been forced to be homeless, but some of these people, had no choice. But we as a society is like acknowledge them, smile, have a little conversation. But you you know, like you're saying, we were raised. I can be honest, I was raised to look at them,
yeah.
not look at them, right? So, it's like now you want to try to acknowledge them, like see
Yeah,
what's going on in their life. So 100%. So, and
yeah.
no, back to you, but how did you find out you were going to get this role?
Oh wow. Okay. Yeah. How did I find I was going to get the role? Well, I was just, on Actors Access, which, every actor in LA knows. It's just a site basically where you can find jobs. And they have it for the agent side, and then sometimes they let people post and the actors can apply. So I wanted to do a play because I had done a lot of theater in San Francisco, where I'm from. And I had a great time. I found it was a nice way to like create a community. And I just moved here about in November. So I'm looking to make my actor community in LA. So what better way than theater? And so I found, but I do try to, I don't know, there's two schools of thoughts with actors. I feel like either you think that you can do any role and anything's for you, or, you're honest and you're like, not that you're not being honest. I mean, some people really can do everything, right? But for me, I like to think I have my things that I can do. Some things I don't have enough relevant experience as a human being or any connection to, or I don't even fit the type to play. So I read all of my breakdowns going, okay, because this is something I could do. And so I read it and it was, I actually wanted to play Costella, if you see the show, because I used to rap. That's actually why I moved to LA, was to become a rapper. But that dream hasn't been given up yet. That's a whole other thing. But there was a rapping sequence in it, and I go, "Oh, I love musicals. I can sing, but I really like resonate with rappings, and also the story about homelessness, and just the bringing humanity to it. I was like, this is something I can do. So I auditioned. I had no idea there was a lot of people auditioning, but this guy came out of the audition room and he started singing. This is what I remember. And it's a musical theater audition. It's very quiet in the waiting room. He starts singing really loud and proud, and everyone just kept looking at him. I'm like, well, this is fun. So I pretended to be like on the piano, like Elton John, put on little shades, and like help. And so I kind of joined his like random singing thing, and everyone was just looking at him and looking at us. And then they kind of felt the permission to smile, and I was like, yeah, he's singing. This is why we're here. We like singing. We like music.
Mm-hmm.
Make this audition room a musical. I didn't know it was the producer of the show. So I go in the audition room and he's like, oh, I'm Thaddeus. He's the playwright producer. And I was like, oh, well, that's who I was singing with. So I don't know if that helped my odds or not, but I don't think it hurt. Um, but I ended up rapping, and then they ended up telling me, well, we have another role for you because you look so young. And I was like, okay, I can't help that, sure. And then I got into the show because they gave me a call, I think the next day, or like, I think it was the next day. They gave me a
Mm-hmm.
call. Here we are.
Amazing. That's a story. And here you are in LA. And is that the reason why you moved from San Francisco to LA?
Yeah, the reason I moved was I just all my I like writing. I write screenplays. I do comedy. I've written a lot of comedic shorts. If you'd like, you can go to my website, vvmelendres.com. Not to plug myself, but I think I have some funny. You can go and there's a writing tab, and it's all my comedy writing, and it's pretty funny. I love female centered comedy. I feel like
Mm-hmm.
here is very male dominated, and sometimes I want to watch a comedy and like have my humor, you know? And so I think it's like a nice way to do that. It's very diverse. So I wanted to come here for the writing, for the rapping, and also for the acting. Pretty much everything I like is here. So here I am.
That's amazing. That's awesome.
Thank
So,
you.
a couple of questions for you is what type of roles would you like to see yourself play in?
Oh, okay, perfect. Thank you for asking that. Can I name certain shows or is that like taboo?
Sure, sure, it's okay.
I always thought on that show, How I Met Your Mother, I thought I'd make a great like co-star girlfriend. You know, I could maybe play the crazy obsessive girlfriend. You know, I can play a little manic, a little crazy. I guess another role I'm really good at is anxious. I can definitely play like anxious, like paranoid, something like that in the comedy sphere or in any sphere. A young mom, you know, I can do that, but I keep getting cast as the teenager. And I'm not gonna lie, I get cast very much often as like kind of like mean girls. Like not that I'm a mean girl, but I very much get the, oh my God, look at those earrings. That's so fetch. Like very like Kim Kardashian-esque, like, and I think it's maybe because of my voice. And I've also done some action. I've done some action stuff, so I would love to get more into action films. You know, I've
Hmm.
done, um, and I had really a really fun time playing the kind of like straight like hero character, and I also played the psychopath who just had a mission. It was pretty much robotic to just kill, and that's all they've been trained to do. So I think those are like my spheres: anxious, also um, anxious mom, kind of more like superficial, but also like murderer, but also kind of like main character girl next door, kind of kick butt, sort of like good moral character. Those are kind of like my spheres of character.
Wow. So you do see yourself more like an action actress?
I'd say 50-50. I'd say I definitely lean towards comedy and I definitely lean towards action, but I get cast a lot in dramatic because
Hmm.
I mean, this is not the first role where I make people cry. Like that's the only spoiler I'll give. Keep getting cast in these parts where my job is to make the audience cry, and it works every time. And something about my face just says, "And cry." I don't know. So yeah,
That's gonna make people cry. Um, n- what acting have you found the most challenging and why?
the most challenging. Um, okay, the most challenging. I'll even say the making people cry because I'll read the script and then it kind of feels heavy. I'm like, whoa, my job is to like it says cry here. And it's kind of a lot. Like I have to cry, they have to cry. And so that is scary, but I keep getting cast in those parts for a reason. I have to tell myself and I have to let go of the outcome and just do my job. I'm here. This is what's happening. This is real. I have to make it real and then convince myself it's real. And then once I do that, I'm just in there. And it turns out less more than okay. It turns out quite excellent in my opinion. So I think it's hard mentally, but once I get over it and kind of just fall into the scene more, and once I get those lines in my head, which I shove those in even before you're supposed to, because I just want to be able to play. And so that is challenging mentally, but once I get it over with, it turns out pretty good.
That's good. That's good.
Thanks.
How do you what do you approach to get into a character?
To get into a character, I a lot of people what they do and they teach in classes is to kind of write out things about the character, right? Like backstory, their relationships to people. But I find that I already start doing that once I read the script. I already start to form opinions as that character about people that I don't necessarily need to write it down. It just causes me stress to have it on paper, but that's just me because I already know, okay, I feel this kind of way. Or for me, I have to rationalize my actions. I know there's a lot of actors will the director can say, "Oh, well, go left," and they'll just go left. But if I'm really like being truthful to the craft and to what I'm actually doing as an actor and acting, I need to find a reason why would my character do that. So, I think it's just being in the production, having the lines memorized, and just being in there, making this world real. That I
Hmm.
start to kind of like make those decisions, make those relationships, make those opinions, and really just kind of, I guess, I've become the character. Did I answer your question? I'm sorry.
No, no, you did. You did. 100%. No, don't worry. Now, are you working on any other projects other than Because It's Sunny in LA?
You know what's funny? Normally I'm overlapping, and I do, but taken a lot of energy and sorry, I'm going to adjust for a second. It's taken a lot of energy actually in time, just mentally with all the like the lines and also just how many rehearsals there are, how many shows. I haven't quite gotten the chance to look at anything else. That's kind of my goal this week is okay, I'm gonna start taking a look at what comes next.
Mhm.
But I'm manifesting for myself to get a co-star role or something out there. So I like that once the show's over, I'll have more time to audition and I'll have more time to like allow other opportunities to come in.
Right.
But yeah, at this point, not anything, but I am hopeful.
Well, I can't wait. That's definitely exciting. Now, what's
Can
your greatest strength as an actress so far?
you say that one more time?
The greatest strength as an actress.
My greatest strength as an actor. I think commitment to the character for sure. I think if I'm being honest, I think I'm a really good scene partner. Because like I said, in order for me to really act, I just kind of have to. I don't have a hard time making the situation I'm in real. I don't have a hard time blocking out the audience. I don't have a hard time just seeing this world and this is real. And maybe because you know how people do things when they're really young and they've done it since they were a kid that it's natural. I didn't really stick to anything, but the only thing I did stick to my whole life was acting. That's the one thing I started when I was about 4. I stopped for college to be a real person, which didn't work because here I am being not a, whatever this is. So maybe it's second nature. I just, yeah, my strength would be committing to the scene, making it real. And even during rehearsals, I
Hmm.
was rehearsing with one of my castmates, Betsy, and I could see her face change because we're doing it and we're just rehearsing and we're not in the stage, we're not in costumes, but we're doing it. And she was kind of like, she was laughing, whatever. And then she noticed that I was really serious about it. She was like, oh, we're doing this. And so it would allowed her and me to just actually do the scene and actually act and see what it's gonna be like on stage. And so I think my greatest strength would definitely be committing to the scene. Even during rehearsals, getting those lines in my head, I'm pretty good about it. I start to remember other people's, right? Um, but yeah, just real commitment to like making it actual, no matter where we're at, whether that be rehearsal, on stage, on film. It's happening for me. It is happening for me. And sometimes it does kind of suck because it does kind of lead out of the scene. Not like I'm gonna yell at you off stage, but like sometimes when I get upset crying, I have to take a minute after to collect myself because I am truly sad.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Wow. So it does affect you.
Affects me. Yeah, it does. But I'm okay feeling. I'm one of those people that I don't mind feeling. So that's okay.
So you get deep in your character.
I guess I do. Yeah.
That's a good thing, right?
Yeah, it is a good thing. Thank you.
Right. That is a good thing. So, now a little bit more about you is that you were born and raised in San Francisco, right?
Was, yes.
It was, and then now you moved here. Do you have any siblings? And if so, are they also acting?
Funny. I have siblings. Actually, one of them unfortunately passed away, but that's okay. The fentanyl crisis, it's a whole thing. That's a whole other topic, so everybody watch out. But my other sibling is my brother. He's considering moving to LA, so he's doing like a sort of sublease thing here for this month. So he'll be here, he'll come to the show. But he actually works in politics. He works in housing policy. So that's kind of what I did. That's actually what I do on the side is I try to help the housing, insecurity. And so does my brother full time. And my family is very like, we're activists. So he's an activist and he works in housing and we work in like healthcare issues. And that's what my brother and me do, but not acting.
Amazing. He's in the political world,
Yeah, he's in.
and he's moving to LA. That's amazing.
Yeah, thanks.
From San Francisco.
Yeah.
So, what would you say to other people who wants to get into acting?
Oh, I love this question. Okay. Okay, well, what I would say to other people is to not let anybody tell you otherwise that this is something you can't do. There's enough space for everyone. When I first moved here, I got lucky that I was getting my headshots taken at the same time as a really well-known actor. Unfortunately, I can't remember his name, but I remember his face. I do see him on billboard all the time, though. So obviously it's working for him. But he ended up telling me that, like, there's all these statistics they put out, like, oh, only this percent of people are working as actors in SAC. And he goes,
Mhm.
that's a whole lot of he's like, you're gonna have times where you're not working and you are working. So there's no real way like to get a number because of all those like gaps that are happening between like getting this contract and that one, right? Like technically right now I'm an employed actor, but next month I won't be. But it doesn't mean that I'm not an actor, that I'm not working because it's only had been a month time. It's the last show, like something like that. So he was telling me that a lot of his friends, yeah, they're not famous. In fact, he's not famous. I don't even remember his name, but I see him on billboards. He says that you'll make enough once you get in it and you commit long enough and build those relationships with the directors. And yes, you're going to get a bunch of no's, but they're still seeing your work in your face. That once that time goes by, you'll get enough work that you'll be able to sustain a real life doing it. Like he said, he just bought a home when I met him, like what, 8 years ago on the West Side. Like it can be done. So don't let anybody tell you otherwise. Don't let them get in your head. Don't let the negative people who have decided to take on that negative space of Hollywood get into your head and affect your mindset. Just keep on keeping on with your story. It's your story. You're not, taking on their stuff. This is your story. It's different, and the future is not written yet, and you can make it for sure. I'd also recommend reading the book, The Actor's Life by Jenna Fisher. It's very nice. It tells you kind of like the beginnings of how to get into this industry as an actor if you don't know. But also it makes you feel not so alone with a lot of like social issues that comes to being an actor. Like she talks about going to a baby shower and she's like 28 and she can barely afford a car and people are getting married and have babies. And she's like, oh my God. And I'm working at like Starbucks trying to get my next gig. And it makes you feel like not alone. You're just in a different world, you know?
Right. That's true.
That's,
That's amazing. It's
yeah, that's, oh
I heard about that book, by the way.
my God. So good.
Yes. Yeah. And by the way, I'm so sorry about your brother,
Sure. But thank you.
um, just how to say that. But yes, the book, yes, amazing. Talks about what you're saying, the industry. But it's not a competition, it's just trying to help each other out. Sure. You know. Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
In 5 years, okay. I see myself in 5 years. I do comedy. I'm pretty serious about it. It's funny to say that I'm so serious about comedy, but I see myself. My goals in the next couple of years is to write my scripts. I have one comedic, one dramatic. So to sell one of my scripts, to put myself in one of my scripts, to do a comedy movie, to be cast in a comedy movie, to have a reliable on television kind of like gig going, whether that be a co-star on, sorry, the window's open. Quickly, sorry.
No, you're okay.
Um, yeah, so to have a reliable job as like on a co-star or a guest star role that's reoccurring on a show, whether that be on Hulu or like Netflix, something like that. Just where I get to play a fun comedic character. I'll even play a dramatic character. I'm not against it. I hear I play it pretty good, but I definitely want to like transfer more into the comedy world. And just have consistent work. Maybe
Hmm.
that day job that like that's it. That's my only job is like acting. And so
Right.
that's nice. And obviously to buy a home, all the American dream things.
Right. That's true. That's true. Now, what are your short-term goals as of right now?
My short-term goals is to finish my comedic and dramatic script. That's my within the year goal. And my other short-term goal was to be to book something on like network television or to book something on one of the streaming services. Just to book it because I only started really auditioning on that level in the beginning of this year, and I broke my foot. So I only had one solid month of auditioning, and then I broke my foot, and now I only got cleared to do actiony sort of things and
Right.
everything about 2 weeks ago. But it's the writer's strike, so back when I was actually auditioning, I got like 45 auditions in that month, and that felt
Wow.
great.
By the way, I saw on your Instagram you had a cast on your foot.
I did.
So what happened?
Oh my God, it was so silly. I dance in my free time for fun, for my soul. And well, also because it helps with musicals. But yeah, I was dancing in the backyard because they say to dance with your shoes off, get grounded for like 15 minutes a day. It helps your serotonin. So I was doing that and I was dancing on these little decorative rocks we have, which there's not a big fall, but I was dancing between them in flip-flops. Not the good kind of flip-flops. I'm talking the old Navy kind of have no support. And I kind of fell on one funny and I immediately my foot went like this And I had no idea it was broken until like maybe 3 days later. And I was like, oh my God, my foot's broken. So that's how that happened.
Wait, time out. So 3 days later, did you wake up from bed and like, oh, I'm in pain, or did you just?
No. Well, what was funny is they said, oh, you'll know if your foot's broken. It'll be the worst pain you've ever had. But I've had worse pain. Like I just have. So like um I didn't think it was my foot was broken. I go, oh, I've had worse. So I kind of like was walking with a cane and I kept thinking, oh, the swelling will go down. And then it only took about a day for me to think maybe it's broken. It's just that it was the weekend. So everything was closed. So that's why it ended up being 3 days. It wasn't just like, I think the next day when it didn't go down, I was like, okay, it's probably broken. Let's go check it out.
And the doctor said it was broken.
Yeah, I was broken. So I had to go on a scooter for like 8 weeks and then actually only seven. And then had to use a boot. And then after about a week, the boot was okay to take off. And now I'm walking. And now I'm like, I'm good to go.
Wow, that's crazy. Now, what is your long-term goal?
My long-term goal? Hmm. That wouldn't fall into the 5 year one.
Sure. I mean, other than, I mean, that too, but is there anything else other than like after 5 years or?
No, that's it. No, I'm just kidding. Well, yeah, I really like to. Well, we're really gonna. Okay, yeah, I would love to star in a production in the Pasadena. Not even star, just be in a production in the Pasadena Playhouse. It's kind of been a goal of mine. Also, to be in a production at ACT, the American Conservatory Theater, home to Denzel
Mhm.
Washington, greats in San Francisco. I'd like to get a role there. I'd like to get a role in the Pasadena Playhouse. Um, maybe the is it called the Geffen Playhouse? The Geffen Playhouse.
I think so.
That's a life goal of mine as well. Maybe also the SF Playhouse. I'd like to
Hmm.
do. Um, I'd like to do something on Broadway at one point. I'd like to, yeah, have my own show. I have a wild personality. I think I could definitely fill a show up. Um, whether that be a sketch comedy show because I'm pretty good at sketch comedy, or just like starring in my own, like maybe New Girl, like maybe I'm Jess or something like that, and just to have consistent work and to be able to do movies, action movies, comedy movies. That's kind of like that would be the goal. But I also really do want to like kind of get like a Friends sort of show. Like I'd love to be like a Jennifer Aniston, a Courtney Cox, like on a Friends show for a long time because I love consistency. I love the ability to be able to work on a character for a long time because of theater's great because you get to really build that character for a while. And I think that's something so beautiful that you don't get maybe doing a 1 day shot and that's it. You're like a guest star and that's it. But that's how everybody starts. So if I were to able to build that up and then eventually get a really just like main character that I can build throughout the years, it would just be really beautiful, like as an actor. You know what I mean?
Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
Broadway is amazing. Um, Never been there, by the way. I can't say, I've been there, but it's, great. Now,
Goals. I'm like, we're putting them out there. Let's do it.
yeah, I don't blame you. Now, big question is, do you prefer to act on theater or do you prefer to be in front of the camera and saying action and you're going and what's your view like or do you prefer both?
I think with my goals, you can tell I prefer both. I definitely don't want to give up one for the other. I don't mind taking time to do one for a while and then switching and doing the other. But I definitely like do love both. I love both a lot. I'll be honest. I think I'm so used to doing theater. I'm now working on being comfortable with the camera because I know it's a different dynamic completely. Versus before, I remember I did a long stitch of like only camera. I had to adjust the theater. I was like, I have to speak louder. All right. And I have to be a little bit more dramatic. Like versus on film, you're like the most minute sort of thing. So it's like really just a code switch. You're like, oh, okay. So, but I do
Right.
love.
Because you have the audience and everybody. So, you know,
Yeah,
back to the long term and the 5 years thing. Do you see yourself living in LA rest of your life, or do you see yourself moving somewhere else?
yeah. I definitely see myself here for the rest of my life. I ended up going to college in Colorado when I tried to be normal, and I know that I don't know what's oversharing, but I'll go ahead and say it. I ended up being engaged to a man out there, but it didn't work out because he wanted to not be in California. And I knew from a young age as a child that all I ever wanted to do was live in LA, be an actor. Also the sun. I love the sun. And so that became like, okay, well, that wasn't the person for me, which is fine. Like we've moved on. We have a new boo thing now. But like it became that it's just been so important for me to be in LA. And I've had things in my life try to take me away, but it was been such a goal for me in my life to be here that once I'm here, I don't really ever want to go. And people keep trying to find these reasons like traffic and smog. And I'm like, I still love it. I love it here. I'm sorry. I'm an LA girl.
LA is amazing.
It is. It
Yeah, traffic doesn't bother me.
doesn't bother me either. I just sing my little songs, listen to my podcast, whatever.
I actually love traffic.
Really? I kind of do too. Is that weird? Why do you like traffic? I'm curious.
Why? Because it's like it's normal.
Yeah, it is kind of normal, huh?
I mean, not kind of, it is normal. I mean, it's just a normal routine. You can't avoid it. So, I mean,
You
tra-
might as well love it.
traffic is amazing. It's just, I like it, but it actually kind of relaxes your mind.
It does relax your mind. I couldn't know it better. It really does.
I mean, it kind of tests your impatience, but that's how you get patience,
Yeah.
right? So,
I,
like,
yeah. I don't think I have a lot of impatience. So I don't think, I mean, maybe that's like, it definitely affects people differently, but I'm pretty patient. So for me, I don't like that was never an issue. It was more the being bored. And I think the podcast, the thinking, the goal setting, that's what happens in traffic for me, you know? So, even ideas, I'll think of ideas and maybe I'll do like a voice memo, like, remember that
mhm.
kind of works out for me.
Wow. So is there, I totally agree with you. Is there anything funny or interesting behind the scenes?
For the show,
Yes.
funny or interesting? I think it's, whoa, sorry. Okay, we're back. Anything funny or interesting behind the scenes for the show? I think we've definitely like grown our relationships all together, me and the castmates. So it's definitely like a lot more jokey now. I hang out with them like outside of the show, like Amel, who plays the real estate developer. We went and picketed for the writer strike together. That was a lot of fun. It was her birthday. We had like a birthday cake celebration. We take goofy photos that are just so silly. Okay, one guy in the show, he's from Oakland, and I'm from San Francisco. It's the same vibe. I mean, obviously they're gonna be different, but it's like that Bay Area sort of vibe, and it really is a vibe. So it's so nice that we can just be super Bay Area together. Sometimes we'll just begin to dance, and then the other one will go pa da cha cha cha, and then we'll just make a whole scene going, like with dancing and also like rapping a little bit, and it's just it becomes its own like thing. So that's kind of I guess the silliness that happens in the back.
Right. That's good because everybody gets along, like, become friends and family, it seems
Yeah.
like, and jokes and tell stories. So now, is there anything hidden talents about anything about you, any hidden talents or that nobody knows about other than your family?
Yeah, I would definitely say, I think I casually mentioned it earlier, that people don't pick up when they see me is I rap. I rap pretty good. I have books and books and books of rap. It was my way as a kid, cathartically, to kind of like let out, things that made me frustrated. And then it kind of came as like its own thing because I was so good at it. And one of my friends in the Bay Area, she wanted to be a singer. So she's pursuing that in her own avenues in San Francisco. So I would always go to these underground clubs or these clubs, these open mics in Oakland, actually, and people would always come up to me and be like, who is this girl? Like, who's like, what is she doing here? And so I kind of like would be like, give me some respect. And then I would give them or they would give a lot of misogynistic raps. And I didn't like that as a feminist. So I would have come back with these raps that were really female centric, but they weren't cheesy. They were good. They were like, what would your mom think about you doing this? Like just stuff like that. And they would really make them reflect. And they were like, I'm sorry, you're right. I had no idea what I was saying. And then, so I guess my secret ability would probably be I rap pretty good. I freestyle pretty good. I can write rap pretty good. You give me a topic, you give me a beat, I got it. You give me like 24 hours and I can do it. And I don't think my demeanor gives that off until I start to switch to that mode. People go, oh, I see it. Okay. Because I think people have an idea of like what a rapper should be, especially a female rapper, versus like what we actually are. I'd love to change that narrative one day because we don't have to all be Cardi B. We can always just be who we are as rappers.
Hmm.
And I guess I'm really good at hip hop dancing. Like I said, coming from a big city, it's kind of a thing. So I can do hip hop pretty well. Tap dance is a new skill I picked up, so I'm good at that. And also just sketch comedy writing. I think I make pretty good jokes. I'm pretty funny. I'm pretty funny. That's feels cocky to say, but you know what? It's true. Talk to me
Right,
like
right.
this.
That's I didn't know you were a rapper, but amazing. So, I saw on your Instagram you travel, you went like you said you traveled a lot
I did.
and you like to travel, I can tell.
I do actually. I think I put the travel bug away a little bit. I might dig it out sometime soon, but I really want to focus on my craft recently and like just getting into the industry here. But yeah, I went to Thailand. I went to I think it's called Phuket, the Phi Phi Islands, which is people call sometimes the Phi Islands, the little islands in
Wait,
Thailand.
recently?
Yeah, that was like 2019, right before COVID.
Oh,
Yeah, so I went there. I went to Chiang Mai. I went to ooh, why am I forgetting the capital of um the big city in Thailand? What's it called?
Bangkok.
Bangkok. Went to Bangkok. Yeah, the food there. Oh my God, Thai food has got nothing in the US on Thai food in Thailand. And what's funny is like some of the street vendors we didn't speak the same language. So I was like, I'll have that. I don't know what I was eating, but it was amazing. I was like, this is good.
Wait, isn't it true that they eat bugs?
I might have eaten the bug. I don't know. I have no idea. Wherever they do, it tasted good though. So I know, I know. Yeah. But yeah, I've also been in Spain. I lived in Spain for a month and to pick up like my Spanish skills. I don't know how much Spanish I ended up learning. Probably enough, but it was really interesting and really fun to like check out like the old school, like kind of like architecture and like history of.
Hmm.
I mean, like Europe has been there from the big, like a long time. Like America's pretty new, so we don't have anything that old, but they're old, old, and so that's kind of cool to see that, you know?
Right, that's true. To see the old building.
Yeah, yeah.
I love your shirt.
Oh, the actors equity.
Yes.
Thank you. I got it from picketing.
Well, I just saw half of it, but I see all of it. It's amazing, by the way.
Thank you. I love it too.
Because it was like actors and I didn't see the rest of the words. So, and where'd you get the shirt you said?
I did well because I'm part of the equity, union for stage actors. They had a day where they went and they picketed for the writer's strike, and so I went and I got the shirt, and I also got a little bag, so that's kind of cool. I can be loud and proud about it.
That's amazing. So, and that's, like everybody can go watch the show because it's sunny in LA, and you said it comes every day until the last day. When is it again?
So it's showing now from the weekend, so the 9th, 10th, 17th, 18th, 23rd, and 24th. I just looked up the website. It's actually because it's sunny.com. That's the
Oh,
website.
because it's
Yeah.
sunny.com.
Yeah.
Oh, and it's, that's amazing. And your character, what is your character if you want to tell the audience?
So my character is a teenager. She's a teenage homeless youth with two homeless parents. And it's just about her kind of reflecting on her life, what got her there, and also kind of like what happens to her on the streets and how she navigates. And you get to see her change from this like innocent sort of like young girl to, having to survive on the streets like a homeless teenager. So that's my character. And her name is Vanessa, which is funny because my real name is Vanessa. Yeah, but my stage name is Vivi because that's my childhood nickname. So I just picked it up.
Oh, wow, I didn't know that. I thought
I
you
know.
was Vivi.
Yeah.
And so it's Vanessa.
So Vanessa plays Vanessa, but technically it's Vivi plays Vanessa.
Wow, that is I did not know that. You taught me
I
something new. And I do appreciate everything, about you talking about this show. Like you said, we're talking about the homelesses, the housing is very important to talk about, and that's what everything this film, this show was talking about,
yeah,
because it's sun in LA. But at back we were trying to say is, it's about every major city. And it's very good that we're talking about it. And I think we need to talk more about it, in the
yeah,
society, bring it up, talk about the issues because like you were saying, you never know that could be your loved ones or your loved ones, right? And it's just friends, and you don't know what happened, you don't know the situation. But also, I agree with you. It's because of gas, the rent, the housing prices.
losing a job, being paycheck to paycheck. Tons of people are. I mean, what happens if you don't get that next paycheck? What if you
Right.
don't have safety nets that like some people in society have? I mean, what happens? You just fall through the cracks. That's a big thing we say, falling through the cracks. Well, these, we
Right.
all have,
100%. You know,
yeah,
exactly what we're trying to say about what I was going to talk about the public transportation is, when you look at other countries like Europe and Asia, they have trains, and I think that we as America society, if we have, because they have cars, they have gas, they have that, but I believe that somehow if they are manage to do it, then we should, as American society, be able to manage to do it, have trains and public transportation to help people get to their jobs so they don't have to, spend money on gas, especially for the home, people who are in the housing district to help them get to transportation.
yeah, yeah. Well, and I think what's funny when speaking of Europe, when I went to Spain, I was staying in Malaga, but I jumped around to Madrid and to the Alhambra. It's Granada. And I didn't actually see any homeless people at all, which is quite like funny to think about. But they have houses on houses on houses. And I know some people don't like houses on houses because they worried about like the sun and the shade's going to take over. But I don't know. I don't remember it being very shady in those parts. I mean, I think it worked out. And as long as you wake up at a reasonable hour, you'll catch the sun. It'll be dead center. So maybe you need to not sleep in, catch the sun, and instead build houses. You don't have to worry about it making shade, but that's just me. I don't know.
Right, 100%. And and that's what I like about Europe, but you're right. There's not much homeless in countries. It's kind of bizarre.
It
But
is.
yeah, and I don't know about Canada, but but again, housing, you look at other countries, they have housing. We should, I don't know why, I don't know why America's not able to have housing and we're not. And every time we bring it up, what we were saying earlier, it's like everybody shuts down. Like, wait, why? No, we don't need housing. And it's like, no, we do need housing. And everybody just freezes, and it's
They
unfortunate.
always say, where we build it, how's there going to be enough water? But in reality, I mean, you can't operate on a fear base, right? Like you need to it needs to be built. We need to build it. We have enough land. We have enough space. We can build vertically, right? We have enough of an intellect around like how to make these buildings preventative against like earthquakes and things like that. So why can't we build up? Why can't we build
Mhm.
instead of just building out or trying to keep our spaces like suburban or like green or whatever you want? We need to build up because we have more people. Water, I mean, look, I don't know enough about it, but in reality, these people do need water. It's either they get water or they die, and you could be that person the next day. So, I mean, what's it gonna be? I mean, we got out of our drought pretty recently, so as long as we like keep a conscious mind about how we're affecting the environment, try not to trash it, I don't think water will be a problem, right? It will rain, okay? We will be able to get some more water. There are like wells in the ocean. Don't make that a whole narrative. Water is not a problem, okay? Like, and
Right.
these people still exist. They still live in our area. They're still going to need water anyway. So we might as well just accept the
Yeah.
fact on and get a solution, you
Right.
know?
We need water. That's 100%. There's water everywhere.
Yeah, my brother works, I told you, in this housing policy. What's funny, so I get to hear all the arguments when people don't want housing, and it's the shade, it's the water, it's the where, it's the I don't want to build up. It's like, well, these people exist, you have to. As a society, we have to. Sorry.
Right. It's about
Or stop.
helping each other. About helping each other. 100%.
They exist. You can't deny their existence.
Yeah. You know,
Yeah.
and that's the truth. And it's unfortunate, it's sad that people don't want to accept their existence, but they there. We have to acknowledge them. So
Yeah.
100%. Well, thank you for coming on my show.
Thanks for having me. This
And
was really fun.
you're always welcome to come back.
Okay, thank you so much.
I'd love to have you back, and talk about your other films and other projects that you're working on, and you have a great personality.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. And I found, like I said, I got connected with you from other, people, and everybody was talking about this show, especially the word is spreading about this show. It's amazing that people are talking about it. So, and I'm glad that we're talking about it.
I know we just had a piece on actually Spectrum News, and it's really nice that like the core and the message of the show is getting out there, especially to Angelinos because they're the ones that are voting for like how where funds go, right? For like
Hmm.
things like that. They're the ones that vote in the city council members who like make these laws. So it's nice that like we're educating our area so we can fix the area itself. So that's really nice. Thank you so much for helping us spread the message as well.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome. I'm so happy. And again, I look forward to having you back on my show.
Thanks so much. Yeah, we'll stay in contact.
Yes, definitely will. You have a good day.
You too. I'll see you.
Bye bye.
Do I hang up then?